Okay, now that everybody's lab kits should be showing up any day now, especially since our first experiment, Tuesday, lab is going to do it this Tuesday. Let's go ahead and unbox one of these so that you know what to expect when your kit arrives. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and slice into mine, prevent myself from cutting my packing slip here. So I'm going to pull that off. Get that out to the side. Then I can go ahead and finish over here. All right. Okay, so when you open it up, you'll find that we've got some bubble wrap in there that was there to protect everything. Now we can go through each of the components and see what we've got. So a lot of the things are going to be labeled. So as I pulled this large bag out here, it says chemistry chemical set 1. So chemical set 1, these are a bunch of various chemicals you will use in several of the experiments. Okay, so once you use something in this, don't throw the rest of the stuff away. You'll use it later. Okay, let's see here. This one says separation of a mixture. So that's going to be for our separation of a mixture experiment that I have scheduled for week 6. So that'll be our second experiment that we do. This little syringe here, it's labeled determination of acetic acid concentration. Okay, we're going to do that at the end of the semester for our titration. Okay, you're going to get a bag of balloons that says introduction to molecular bonding. We're actually not going to use the balloons. All right. These you'll see when we do our geometry, molecular geometry chapter, you'll see a slide that shows balloons blown up to show the basic molecular shapes. And these balloons allow you to do that same thing. So if you want to recreate those yourself, you can, but I'm not going to make you do that. But so you have the balloons if you want to use them. If you want to use them for something else, that's fine. Engineering a better airbag. Let's see here. Here's a card deck for periodicity. Chemical set number 2. So this is like chemical set number 1. These are things that you are going to use and reuse for multiple different experiments. So you want to make sure you hang on to everything there. Exploring physical and chemical changes, which this is the one we're doing next week. So this might be supplemented by some of the stuff in the bulk sets, but you will definitely need this little package for our work next week. So I'm going to set that aside. Okay, then let's see here, single replacement, stoichiometry and percent yield. This one's really cool. You're going to extract copper. So this is a solution of copper 2 sulfate, and you have some aluminum foil, and you're going to do what's called a single replacement reaction, where the aluminum is going to take place of the copper in solution, and the copper is going to precipitate out, and then you're going to collect it. That's going to be really cool. Okay. Here is investigating chemical reactions. Now, there's a few things in this investigating chemical reactions packet that we're going to use for our week 13 experiment determining R. So rather than have yet another set of equipment, the protocol for determining R uses the yeast, the stopper, the hose, and the test tube that all come in investigating chemical reactions. And you have enough of the yeast left after doing this that we can do the determining R experiment as well. So some of this you're going to reuse for another experiment. Okay, then we've got our little kit here for modeling. So when we do geometry, you will be building models of molecules. And so that's why if you look on your schedule, it says kit and lab manual, experiment 6 molecular models. We're going to do the experiment as presented in your lab manual, except you need a model kit to do that. And so that's where this is going to come in. The one that's written in your lab manual is much better tailored for this class. The experiment that's done by Carolina is meant for all levels, and it's actually kind of confusing the way they wrote it. So I don't want us to do the Carolina molecular model lab. We're going to do the Grossmont College molecular model lab, but we're going to use the model kit that comes with your kit. Okay, and then here I have my principles of chemistry equipment set and my chemistry safety set. Okay, set this box down. So your safety set will have a bunch of gloves so that you can have a fresh pair of gloves for each experiment. It's going to have a pair of lab goggles, and it's going to have a lab apron. Okay, so these are the items that you will need to wear when you're doing all of your experiments. You'll need to have your apron on, your goggles on, and a pair of gloves on. Okay, and then these are all the tools that you will use for your various experiments. So some of them you'll have other stuff supplemented, like our investigating chemical reactions comes with some tubing and a bigger test tube. So sometimes you'll supplement with stuff, or here our copper single replacement reaction has a funnel with it. But a good portion of your experiments will be using what's inside this kit. So we've got some graduated cylinders, thermometer, beaker, some plastic cups. So even though these are just plastic cups, these are reusable. So make sure when you're done with your experiments, you don't throw these away. You'll reuse these. Wrapped in this bubble wrap is a glass Erlenmeyer flask. Okay. In this little packet, we've got some weigh boats, a candle, some smaller cups, some spoons, a glass test tube, a bunch of pipettes, some plastic test tubes, a grease pencil for writing on your test tubes and other stuff with, and a ruler and a pair of tweezers. Okay, here is what is known as your test tube rack. And then here is your digital scale. Okay, so this one that they sent me this time is slightly different than the one I showed you guys before. So this one is done by AWS, it looks like. It's not written Carolina on it, but it'll work the same way. So in this one, it looks like you press the button and open it up. Yeah, and so there's your little scale. And so you'll put it down and you'll turn it on or off. Okay, and then you can use your scale. All right, so this is what you'll need right away for you to do your percent error from our previous experiment. So what you can do with your test tube rack, all right, is if you pop it open, actually, I'll show you what I did with my test tube rack last semester. All right, is I popped it open, I took off the slanted part, there's perforations there, and then I popped open the little insert and I stuck it in there. And here's my ruler, my glass test tube, my grease pencil, my tweezers, my thermometer, and my plastic test tube. So it's all right here, ready to go. Okay. Now, I have all of my stuff in rolling 3-drawer carts in my garage since I teach multiple classes. Depending on what I'm teaching at any given time, I roll a different cart over here so that I can do whatever demos that I need to do. But you're just taking the one class. So you don't have to get anything as fancy as what I've got. You can take the same box that your kit shipped in, and you can store all your materials in this box. And then you just pull the box out as you need it. Or you can get a plastic tub or something else if you choose, but you don't have to get anything fancy to store your stuff in. Okay. The one thing you should be throwing away at the end of each experiment is the gloves. So use a fresh pair of gloves for each experiment. Don't try to hold on to the gloves from experiment to experiment. But the rest of your equipment, the rest of your materials, you will need to use from experiment to experiment. Okay. So make sure that you are cleaning them each experiment, saving them, and then holding on to them for the future. Now, when you clean them, you will need distilled water. Okay, so this bottle of water is okay. This is just distilled water. A lot of the experiments, if you need water, you want distilled water. Every once in a while, we can use tap water, but for the most part, you want to use distilled water. Right? So when you're buying your water, be really careful. So this is the jug that I have right now. When COVID first started, I was pregnant and I was not supposed to go anywhere because I was considered high risk. We didn't know enough. My doctor said, stay home, stay home, stay home, unless we make you come into, the doctor's office. So I sent my husband to the store. I'm like, okay, Ed, I need water for my experiments because all we had was tap water. So he brings me this bottle. It says, Refreshe purified drinking water with minerals added for taste. You don't want that, because the whole point of the distilled water is that it doesn't have anything dissolved in it. So don't make the mistake my husband did. Do not buy purified drinking water with added minerals. You want distilled water for your experiments. And then there will occasionally be times when the experiments call for other supplies around your house. Like a common one is table salt. So I have a little container of table salt that I have labeled. So it's, you can see I have NaCl written on it. And then sometimes sugar. So I have a little container here that I've written sugar on. So I don't always have to go into my kitchen and raid the stuff in my kitchen. But each experimental protocol will tell you what you need. It will tell you what you need from your equipment kit, from your chemical sets, and then from that particular experiment. And there will be pictures. And then there will also be a list of anything you need, like distilled water or salt or sugar or things like that. So every experiment will lay it out. Okay, and you'll see that when you prepare your pre-labs for Tuesday or Thursday for this week, as you go through that first experiment, are exploring physical and chemical changes. As you're prepping your pre-lab, you will see all of the equipment that you will need in order to successfully complete that experiment. So anyway, hopefully this helps you understand what you're receiving in your kit, and hopefully you started receiving them and you're excited to actually go forth and do some chemistry at your house. I think it'll be good. Every student, the other students I've had this past year and a half that have used these kits have all been very excited about using them, because you get that same well, not quite the same, but almost the same hands-on experience that you would get if we were actually back in the classroom. So also, last warning, if you have not ordered your kit, order it now. Okay, they take time to get here, and if you haven't ordered it yet, it might not show up in time for you to do the experiment and get it turned in on time. So if you have not ordered your kit, order it now. For the rest of you that have ordered your kit, excellent, good job. You should be set and good to go with all your equipment in time. So, all righty. Tuesday students, I'll see you Tuesday morning. Thursday students, I'll see you Thursday morning, and we'll start doing some chemistry.